and a proud HKUST alumna. It is a real pleasure for me to be back on campus to share this very special occasion with you all. Today, HKUST is truly honored to host this high-level gathering titled Nobel Heroes at HKUST, Visionaries in Dialogue, bringing some of the world's brightest minds and scientific and economic minds to us all, sharing their stories, insights, as well as wisdom. I know you have all had a very long journey, and we will be making this fun and interesting for every one of you. This event is a unique opportunity for us, including students, faculty, alumni, as well as friends of HKUST, to engage directly with Nobel laureates, whose groundbreaking work has shaped how we live, how our bodies function, how our economics, as well as our universe function and understanding. This special occasion is made possible by our support and partnership of our organizers, and they include Laureates City Holdings Limited, Red Carpet Investment Limited, and Sunhua Kingsway Limited. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. And of course, a big thank you to supporting organization, and that is the very own Lindau Nobel Laureate Meetings, whose long tradition of bringing together Nobel laureates in dialogue with young scholars continues here in Hong Kong today. So thank you to the Lindau Nobel Laureate Meetings. Thank you. We're also very happy and proud to report that the event today has received an overwhelming response, with over 600 guests registering, including members of our Court and Council, distinguished faculty, staff, students, alumni, and members of the general public, reflecting the tremendous interest that we have from our distinguished speakers. So your presence, whether it's here physically today or online, means a lot to us. And it is a privilege to have with us 4 distinguished Nobel laureates who are with us today, and they include Professor Tim Hunt, Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine 2001, Professor Louis J. Ignorow, Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine 1998, Professor Robert C. Merton, Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences 1997, and Professor Konstantin Novoselov, Nobel Prize in Physics 2010. Let's give them a warm welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're immensely grateful that you have traveled here to share your experiences with us and with the HKUST community, and we look forward to learning more from you at the Chit Chat session. To kick off today's event, we would like to invite in a minute our very own president of the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, President Nancy Ip, to deliver her opening remarks. President Ip has been a steadfast champion of scientific excellence. Her scientific and professional research and achievements have been widely recognized with numerous international accolades. And since becoming the president of HKUST in October of 2022, she has guided the university through a period of significant growth and development. Under her leadership, UST's international stature has continued to rise, placing 6th in Asia, 44th globally in the latest QS University rankings. I still remember as a student, I attended an interview by the QS rankings. The university also gained prominence in the leadership in data science as well as in AI, ranking 17th globally, and continues to maintain top scientific positions as well as graduate employability and impact in the Times Higher Education rankings. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming President Yip.
Pro-Chancellor Dr. John Chen, Co-Chair Dr. the Honorable Andrew Liao, our distinguished Nobel laureates, Mr. Nicholas Turner, distinguished guests, colleagues, Court and Council members, alumni, students, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of HKUST, I'd like to welcome you all to our beautiful Clearwater Bay campus, and also to today's event, Nobel Heroes at HKUST, Visionaries in Dialogue. HKUST is truly honored to host this event on our campus and bring you this very unique opportunity to engage with our 4 remarkable Nobel laureates who have made groundbreaking contributions to their respective fields. So I would like you to join me again in welcoming our 4 Nobel laureates. Thank you so much for coming to HKUST and share your knowledge and wisdom. Your presence here truly embodies the very spirit of inquiry and impact that HKUST was founded to champion. The university was founded as the first research-intensive university in Hong Kong, and our mission is to advance learning and knowledge through teaching, research, and knowledge transfer. And since the founding, HKUST has been dedicated to fostering innovation and advancing our research, while actively translating our research outcome to applications for the benefit of society. And to date, we have nurtured more than 1,900 active startups, including 10 unicorns, and we have brought our companies to 11 IPOs. So HKUST is renowned for its pioneering and impactful scientific research and for driving innovation for the benefit of society. So given Hong Kong's position as an international higher education hub and sharing of knowledge, hosting this prestigious event really makes it is a significant milestone for both HKUST and our local scientific community. From the foundations of HKUST 1.0 to the pioneering development of HKUST Guangzhou under the HKUST 2.0 vision, now the university has embarked on a transformative journey to realize our vision under HKUST 3.0, and this includes the establishment of the 3rd medical school in Hong Kong, where we intend to integrate clinical excellence together with the technological innovation to shape the future of medicine. I want to emphasize how profoundly important it is for intelligent minds to come together in the pursuit of knowledge. To us, education is not a one-way transformation or transmission of facts. It is, in fact, a vibrant dialogue that stretches the imagination and reshapes our assumption. So today's dialogue is not just an opportunity to meet our 4 esteemed scientists. It is an opportunity for us to engage with the very essence of inquiry and discovery. The journey of our Nobel laureates exemplify the spirit of curiosity, creativity, innovation, and resilience that we strive to nurture here at HKUST. And their achievements demonstrate that science and economics, really, there's no boundaries, and that collaboration across disciplines and across borders is absolutely essential for addressing the challenges that we face. I'd like to take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Nicholas Turner of the Lindau Nobel Laureate meetings for this exceptional partnership, which meaningfully coincides with HKUST's 35th anniversary this year. So I also want to thank Mr. Michael Ong and Mr. Michael Choi for co-organizing this event. It is really a rare privilege for us to be among such bright young minds. And also, to everyone here, I encourage you to engage fully, ask questions, share perspectives, and draw innovations and inspirations from our brilliant Nobel laureates, for them to share their insights and their experiences with us. So let today's conversation spark new ideas and reinforce our shared commitment to a better future through science and innovation. And so once again, welcome to HKUST, and I hope that this event will be an informative, rewarding, inspiring, and a memorable one for all of you. And to our overseas guests, I hope that you will continue to enjoy your stay in Hong Kong. I heard that this is your 4th day already in Hong Kong. And it is, again, our privilege to have this opportunity to host this really prestigious event. And we do hope that you all will come back to HKUST. Tim told me that this is his 3rd visit to HKUST, and I'm sure after visiting us on this beautiful campus, you all will consider coming back again and interact with our colleagues and our students. Again, thank you all for being here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Yu. Please be seated. And also a big thank you to HKUST for bringing this event to the community. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to allow us all to take a glimpse into the remarkable tradition behind today's event, we shall now be showing a short video introducing the Lindau Nobel Laureate meetings. Let's enjoy the short clip.
As the COVID-19 pandemic has shown, international collaboration among scientists is critical. But that's nothing new. The Lindau Nobel Laureate meeting has been bringing together scientists from around the world since 1951. Back then, in the fallout of World War II, the idea of scientists working together was not taken for granted. Indeed, many feared the exact opposite. In Lindau, Franz Karl Hein and Gustav Wilhelm Parad came up with the idea of bringing together researchers and Nobel laureates from across Europe. They aimed to bring an end to Germany's scientific isolation. The two physicians approached Swedish royal family member Count Lennart Bernadotte to become a co-founder. He showed great enthusiasm for their idea and brought in his valuable contacts and support. Count Lennart became president of the council. He would come to significantly influence the following decade's meetings. In 1987, he was succeeded by his wife Countess Sonia, who focused on internationalizing participation. And in 2008, their daughter Countess Bettina became president of the council. The new millennium brought several landmark events. The first interdisciplinary meeting was held, and the Foundation Lindau Nobel Laureate Meetings was established through 50 Nobel laureates in memory of Count Lennart. Activities today include the Lindau Science Trail, also aimed at young researchers, the Lindau Mediathek with free online educational materials, the Lindau Alumni Network, the Platform Mentoring Hub, and the Lindau exhibitions, such as the Nobel Portraits and the Sketches of Science. In the age of global challenges, the mission of the Lindau Nobel Laureate Meetings lives on. Educating, inspiring, and connecting is more important and relevant than ever. 70 years ago, the founders had a dream, and that dream endures in the scientists and Nobel laureates of the future.
It is an amazing initiative, and ladies and gentlemen, today we're very honored to have amongst us and about to speak to us Mr. Nicholas Turner, Executive Director of the Foundation Lindau Nobel Laureate Meetings, to say a few words. Let's welcome Mr. Turner.
Thank you so much for introducing me. It's a great honor to be here on behalf of, and speaking here on behalf of the Lindau Nobel Laureate Meetings, and I will make it very short with the welcoming. And I'm very happy, Madam President, that we can be here. I'm happy and grateful for the laureates that they join, and I'm happy that the two Michaels, the two Lindau Michaels in Hong Kong, have made it possible that we are here. So thank you so much. It's a great honor, and it's a privilege, and it's not just a saying, but there are Lindau alumni at the HKUST, or from the HKUST, so as we hope that there will be more, it's the short kind of promotional part between you and the discussion with the Nobel laureates. They are engaged for Lindau, they are engaged in Lindau, and so I'm really grateful that they made it here, and hopefully afterwards you get a glimpse of that, what you can feel and experience when you are in feel and experience when you are in Lindau. It's a week of intense interaction between Nobel laureates and young scientists and Nobel laureates, and laureates, and young scientists and young scientists. So the network of these about 600 young scientists, that best talents from their regions. And it's really a global one. So we have about 90 to 100 countries present every year for the meetings. And this year you are celebrating, and congratulations on that, your 35th anniversary. We are celebrating our 75th anniversary. So we are celebrating all together in one large community and family. So hopefully at the end, especially the young scientists, the best talents from your university will be inspired to send in their applications to take part in the Lindau meetings. This is just a short idea to give it, and then you can hopefully be there for the whole week and experience this really special network. And I'm pretty sure that the laureates will, when they are having the discussion, will light out why they are coming. And I just quote Lou Ignaro that feels, and I'm pretty sure he will tell similar things at other conferences, but he feels that Lindau is so special, and it's again not just polite, but I believe the laureates feel it, and they are coming back and back, and all have been to Lindau, so you can have a very direct interaction. It's not just promoting me, the meetings as we are running them, but it's hopefully promoting Lindau by the ones that are essential for the success of the meeting. So I thank you for being here. Get the best out of it. Do ask the laureates as the young scientists do in Lindau, and hopefully some of you later on will be Lindau alumni in the future times to come. So thank you very much, and I'm leaving to let the discussion start, but I want to give a present to you just on the Lindau meetings, but also because that really brings us all to Hong Kong, of the ingenious encounters that Peter Batke, who is with us today, he is traveling the world to get very impressive portraits, black and white portraits of Nobel laureates, and all of them, of course, are part of that exhibition. And so I just thank you.
Can we invite President Yip? Thank you very much, Mr. Nicholas Turner. Yes, and posing for a photo with portraits of Nobel laureates. Amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Turner. Thank you, President Yip. Please be seated. And congratulations to the 75th anniversary of Lindau Nobel laureate meetings. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our dialogue, we would now like to invite distinguished guests to come forward for a couple of group photos to commemorate today's occasion. So first of all, let's invite on stage Dr. John Chan, Pro-Chancellor and Honorary Court Chairman of HKUST. Dr. the Honorable Andrew Liao, Court Chairman of HKUST. Welcome. President Nancy Yip, President of HKUST. And to invite our distinguished Nobel laureates, and they include Professor Tim Hunt, Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2001. Welcome. Professor Louis J. Ignaro, Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine, 1998. Woo. Professor Robert C. Merton, Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences, 1997. Welcome. Professor Konstantin Novoselov, Nobel Prize in Physics 2010. Welcome. Mr. Nicholas Turner, Executive Director of the Foundation Lindau Nobel Laureate Meetings. Thank you for joining us on stage. And the person behind the book just now, Mr. Peter Batch, renowned photographer for Nobel laureates. If he's taking a photo of you, you are someone very important. Thank you. Can I have everyone to stand maybe slightly closer to the center? A little bit to your left. Please look straight ahead with the official photographer. Yes. And smile for the camera. Smile for the camera. Yes. Beautiful. Keep that going. Keep that smile going. You're doing a good job. Okay, and to our left. Audience to the left. And photographers on the left. Please look at your left. Yes. And smile for the camera. Those on the right, don't worry. We will come to you in a second. All right, and ladies and gentlemen, to our right, please. You could give it a wave if you want. All right, posing for the camera, please hold. Beautiful. Please do remain on stage. We'd also like to invite the following guests on stage, and they include Mr. Michael Ong, Chairman of Laureates City Holdings Limited. Welcome. Mr. Samuel Chan, CEO of Laureates City Holdings Limited. Welcome. Mr. Samuel Chan. Mr. Michael Choi, CEO and Executive Director of Sunhwa Kingsway Capital Holdings Limited. Welcome on stage. And our moderator for the upcoming session, Professor Paul Man Low, Adjunct Professor and Council Member of HKUST. Welcome. Professor Charles Ng, Vice President for Institutional Advancement of HKUST. Professor Ka-Yen Tam, Vice President, Administration and Business, HKUST. All right, can we invite everyone to stand closer to the center? Squeeze in a little bit. Yes, beautiful. Okay, and first of all, focus straight ahead with the official photographer, please. Straight ahead, straight ahead. More in the center, focus on the center. Okay, and to your left. To your left. Happy audience, happy event. That's our theory. All right, and to your right, please. To your right, thank you. Keep that smile going. Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone. Could I invite you all to please be seated for our third group photo, which is we'll be taking in with the audience. So thank you very much for joining us on stage. And now, audience, get ready. You will be in the photo too. And the first 3 rows will need to move towards the staircase because we won't be able to take you in. Can I? Yes, please, please. Thank you so much. You will need to move up. Yes. Yes. The first 3 rows will need to squeeze to the center. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. The first 3 rows, please move towards the center, towards the staircase. That's how we take you in. I will squeeze. Please squeeze in towards the center. Thank you. 如果你喺兩旁嘅話，請大家向中間移動啊！請大家向中間移動。如果您是坐在兩旁的話，請往中間移動，請各位往中間。Please stand towards the center。中間一點，對。 first photographer in the room? Shall we all give it a thumbs up? Let's give it a like. Thank you, everyone. That's right, as you slowly move back into your seats, it's about time to get ourselves ready for the interesting dialogue to come. So we would like to once again thank everyone for joining us for the group photos just now, and our audience included. That was major. Now that the stage is all set, we shall be beginning our fireside chat where distinguished Nobel laureates will engage in in-depth conversation on their journeys, discoveries, and perspectives on the future. To guide this dialogue, we have the pleasure of having our moderator, Professor Paul Manlow, adjunct professor and council member of HKUST, who will be moderating the session. Thank you, Professor Low. And we'd also like to invite on stage our Nobel laureates, and they include Professor Tim Hunt. Thank you for joining us. Professor Louis J. Ignaro. Thank you for joining us. Professor Robert C. Merton. Welcome, Professor Merton. And Professor Konstantin Novoselov. Welcome. So in the next 45 minutes, we shall be having a very insightful dialogue guided by our moderator, Professor Low.
Thanks.
And now, Professor Low, the floor is all yours.
Good morning. Welcome to Nobel Heroes at Hong Kong UST, Visionaries in Dialogue. Today we have the extraordinary privilege of learning from 4 legendary explorers, not of distant lands, but of the unseen frontiers of knowledge. From the quantum realm of carbon to the rhythm of a dividing cell, from the molecules of our heartbeat to the mathematics that maps financial futures. Their work has changed not just what we know, but actually how we see the world. They are Nobel laureates, yes, but today they are here with us as people. Also as students who once sat where you are sitting, and also as researchers who once also faced dead ends, doubts, and moments of wonder. Their stories share a common thread: curiosity meeting perseverance. They remind us that groundbreaking discoveries often begin not with a loud shout, but with a whisper in the lab late at night. This morning we'll talk not just about their science, but also the mindset behind it. So without further ado, let's move on to our list of very interesting questions. So, Sir Tim, your discovery of cyclins, key proteins that control the timing of cell division, came from studying something that I really like at a sushi restaurant.
So do I.
Very humble. You do?
Yeah, great.
Sea urchin eggs. So while watching those cells divide again and again, what was it that made you think, there's actually a clock here, and I'm actually seeing its gears?
actually seeing its gears. Well, it wasn't exactly like that.
It wasn't, okay.
So I was studying something completely different. I was studying the control of protein synthesis. These eggs, when they're fertilized, they start making new proteins, right? And the idea was to find out how they did that, what turned it on. And that didn't work very well. And so I began to wonder, why did they make these new proteins? And as a biochemist, I was used to adding acids and detergents and stuff to these poor old eggs, which didn't leave much egg afterwards. And so I began looking at them, and I realized that they divided. And I discovered they divide, as you say, very synchronously, actually, and very rapidly. I mean, these guys do it every half hour, even at 20 degrees. I mean, if you think our cells can divide every 24 hours, after 30 minutes, I mean, it's really rapid. So that was good. And so I began to wonder, why did they do it? And they realized if you stop that protein synthesis, they don't divide. So obviously, one or more of these newly made proteins catalyze cell division, right? And nobody had really sort of put two and two together, because if you inhibit one of our cells, of course it stops dividing because you stop it growing. But these guys, they're not growing, they're shrinking actually. Each time they divide, the cells are exactly half the size they were before. They start as a huge egg, and they turn into little cells. So the first time they, half and half and half and half and half, until you have something 4,000 cells or something, right? And so they didn't have to make anything new, really. So why did they make stuff new? And then I did this very simple experiment, and I won't explain why I did it, but it was for a completely different reason. And I saw this protein disappear. And I put two and two together, and I realized that what was going on, you had to make this protein to catalyze cell division, and then you had to get rid of it to go on to the next step. And if you didn't get rid of it, you just got stuck in the process of division. And this seemed like a crazy notion at the time. I mean, nobody had any idea that proteins had to go away. Nobody had even theoretically suggested that. But I saw it with my own eyes in black and white, and it turned out that was right. So then it was a struggle to find out what this protein was and how it went away and all that kind of. I mean, that took years of painstaking work. But the basic idea, you make something, it catalyzes a thing, you have to get rid of it to move on, was absolutely right. But at the time, people thought I was completely crazy. This was ludicrous. I mean, a protein couldn't go away like that. So people say that the best way to win a Nobel Prize is to do something which is theoretically impossible. And by the way, my wife, who is very disrespectful, says that if I can win a Nobel Prize, anybody can.
And because of your mission impossible, because of your crazy discovery.
Yeah, and I think it's really true, actually, don't you? I mean, both things are really true, actually. You've got to be lucky. You've got to be lucky. It's not particularly smart, but lucky.
Yeah. But because of your crazy discovery, you have really directly influenced today's cancer research, leading to targeted cancer therapies.
I wish it was
saving a lot of lives. So. Now, over to you, Professor Ignarro. You proved our bodies use nitric oxide, a gas found in actually car exhausts, as a vital signaling molecule. So, wow, another crazy discovery that must have sounded just like pure science fiction back then. So what was the biggest obstacle at that time to get the scientific community to actually believe or listen to such a radical idea?
It's a crazy story. Is this on?
Yep.
Okay.
Is it on?
Can you hear me? No.
Try mine.
Now can you hear me? Yes, I can hear me.
Much better.
Okay. So, this was a crazy, kind of a story. I mean, we first, and by the way, I knew there was nitric oxide in car exhaust because when I was much younger, I used to race cars, build racing cars, and I used to love the smell of the exhaust. Now I finally figured out why I love the smell of the exhaust. But anyway, we made a discovery in the laboratory, which I just want to spend 30 seconds telling you. It has to do with nitric oxide in exhaust, but in this case, cigarette smoke. We used to work on blood vessels in the laboratory. We mount the blood vessels in chambers of solution, and then we add different drugs to see how they dilate or contract. And my postdoc used to smoke cigarettes back then, and we were allowed to smoke in the laboratory. So he came in one day with a cigarette dangling from his mouth, and all the smoke was covering the arteries that were in the tissue beds, and they all relaxed. And so I thought that perhaps you broke another one. No, it's okay now. Why don't you keep it at this level? It's fine. And so he walks in with cigarettes in his mouth, and the smoke relaxed all of the arteries. And so we thought maybe the arteries were dead. And I said, his name was Carl. I said, Carl, do you have to smoke in the laboratory all the time? He said, oh, I'm sorry, Prof, I'm sorry. So he was ready to take down the arteries and clean everything up and start a new experiment. But while we were standing there, we noticed that the arteries came to life again, and they regained their tone, and they came back to normal. And so what we observed was that cigarette smoke caused a reversible relaxation of the arteries. And so I wondered, why is this possible? We did more experiments and showed that exactly when you add cigarette smoke to these chambers containing the arteries, they relax. So as soon as the experiment was over, I ran to the library. We had libraries back then with real books. And then I looked up cigarette smoke, the components of cigarette smoke. And I found a statement that said cigarette smoke contains 800 parts per million of nitric oxide. So that was how we discovered that nitric oxide relaxes and dilates arteries. And so with that information in mind, I applied for a research grant from the government, from the National Institutes of Health. I wrote a nice grant, I thought, and the only grant in my career that got rejected. And the search committee said, I'm sorry, but the U.S. government is not, we do not sponsor medical bioresearch on air pollution products, chemicals. They missed the whole point. They missed the whole point. But then what I did was I was able to publish some of this work. The first journal I sent it to was Nature, and the editor of Nature was even more cruel than the reviewers at the NIH. They told me my work was impossible. In other words, accusing me of lying. Really? Ooh. Yes. Wow. They didn't use those words, but what else does that mean? So I published the work in a lesser journal, a good journal, but the scientists who were interested read the work, and they then reproduced all of my findings in their laboratories and extended what we found. And then I applied for another research grant, for a 3-year grant, and they gave me 10 years of money. Whoa. And the rest is history.
Professor Ignero, I did some Googling and asked ChatGPT, and apart from treating angina and cardiovascular conditions, I understand that actually your discovery might have other more amazing applications,
yes,
right?
Truly
such as
amazing,
the world-famous Viagra.
Yes. Should I say something about that?
Yes, more elaboration will be appreciated.
I'm not a urologist. I'm not a neurologist. But a urology physician at UCLA came up to me to ask me if I knew what the neurotransmitter was that was released from the nerves that caused penile erection. And I said, why are you asking me that question? And he said, well, you know, we have in the world about 200 million men who suffer from erectile dysfunction. And unless we know what the neurotransmitter is, we're not going to be able to, we're not going to be able to know. Let's try this one. We're not going to be able to know how to treat this dreaded disease. And so he asked me to think about it for a while. And so I did think about it. I went to the library to read up about the nervous system that controls penile erection. And I found that the nerves there, they were called non-adrenergic, non-cholinergic nerves. The phrase is not important, but they were called this special nerve pathway where the neurotransmitter was not known. And then I read an article from a good friend of mine who recently passed away in England, John Garthwaite, who showed that the NANC nerves in the brain, these nerves in the brain release nitric oxide as a neurotransmitter. And so I thought, oh, well, if NO is released from the nerves in the brain, maybe they could be released from the nerves that go to the erectile tissue. Because remember, NO is a vasodilator. That's what you need. Increases blood flow. And that's as far as I'll go in explaining penile erection. And so we did the experiments and we found that the neurotransmitter was nitric oxide. And so the company Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, they, you know, I'm a small laboratory, I cannot develop drugs, but those guys have hundreds and hundreds of people, so they developed a drug that works by increasing nitric oxide in the erectile tissue. And they marketed that drug in March of 1998 as Viagra. So since then, I've been called the father of Viagra. And I can tell you that I don't mind that at all, but my mother used to get very upset every time she heard that. And finally, a few months later, after Viagra was released, the Nobel Committee announces the Nobel Prize in October of the same year. And I'm wondering, oh my goodness, is there a connection between Viagra and the Nobel Prize? I wasn't sure. So I looked up the committee members of the Nobel Committee for Medicine, and I found that every one of them were men over the age of 60.
So deeply grateful. Professor Merton, your work helped demystify the complex world of financial risk. So for someone who doesn't speak the language of mathematics, what is the single most important intuitive idea about risk or value that your models help clarify?
Boy, after that one, but notice I did contribute. You know, I did contribute my microphone. No, to answer your question, I would say the following: that most of us understand that, you know, the reason we take risk. Let's just think of it in terms of investments and so forth, because there's all kinds of risks that we take. But if you think in terms of investing, that, you know, we take risks either because we have to or because we're rewarded for it. And so if you start with that, you realize, wait a minute. Anyway, now if you start from that and you think about it and you say, well, that means that in order for people to be willing to buy and sell, the price has to be something that people want to buy. And that means that if the risk is larger, you know, if you had two things with the same expected payoff, expected reward, and one is less risky than the other, which one are you going to pick? Right? And risk by definition being something you don't want to have. So how can the system work? And the answer is that they have different expected returns. And moreover, the greater the risk, the greater is the expected return. Now, that's not an axiom. That's just simply a result if you do the right thing. And there are two things here. First of all, when you make investments, it happens that you buy things, you buy a share of this stock, a share of that stock, and so forth. It's a linear mix, all right? So it's very natural to say, all right, let's look at that kind of risk such that if that risk goes up or down, the expected reward goes up and down, both for the individual, but for whatever unit you're looking at, a portfolio, the world, all the assets in the world, whatever, that you would expect that in order for people to be willing to do it, there would be a definite relation between reward or expected return and risk. Otherwise, you wouldn't get markets to work, all right? So that's the first point, and that's why it's linear. The question is, what risk does that? What measure? I mean, you could imagine many. I'm not going to get into that, but imagine there is something that works such that if you use the measurement for risk for this, it works linearly with the expected payoff, and that's what we'll define. So we have a defined structure between risk and return. So the first point is risk and return are not independent in the sense that, you know, you'd love to have more reward and less risk, and you can do that if we're doing the wrong thing. So you could imagine doing an optimization where you say, what mix gives me the highest expected reward for whatever units of risk I take? So it's kind of like a straight line slope. All right, it's the price of how you're rewarded as you take risks. And it's linear because of what I described. All right, so what that does is create a complexity, because now you can't say, I'll choose how much risk I want and I'll choose how much reward I want. That's one too many degrees of freedom. And so that structure starts. Now let me quickly, move on, that if you do that, then you could see you've got to get some kind of frontier. Don't worry about the shape of it, but you get some frontier where you ask the question, what gives me the most reward for a given level of risk? And if you plot that whole thing, now you have a map of what we call the efficient frontier. All the other points don't matter, because if you show me you're thinking of doing this point, and there's a point if this is reward and that's risk, if you tell me you're doing this point and I can find another point higher, you're making a mistake. I can improve it for you. So you have this map of frontier of linear. So that's a bit of the complexity that gets involved in measuring that and how you do it. I'm not going to go into that at all. But then there's a second thing that I was involved with. And I devised a model that was fairly general on how to measure those risks and the units and everything else. And then someone said, well, you know, why linear? I mean, you could certainly imagine nonlinear things. And so, you know, maybe you can improve even on that. And that got me into what was called, our contracts called options. Now, it's now, and more broadly derivatives. Just to scale it for you, there's $750 trillion of derivatives sitting out there in the world, and maybe more, which is 7.5 times global GDP. So they're noticeable. All right, but to get back to the point of what they do, derivatives, by their name, this is not calculus, the derivatives derive their value from the value of something else. Basically, putting it in common sense terms, derivatives are some function of the underlying efficient, or it doesn't have to be efficient, but any underlying instrument that you defined in the first group. You see what I'm saying? So now, by using derivatives, since you can, what I was able to show was, give me any function you want of that, okay, or give me anything that you want. I can tell you what its price is because I can find, you know, for that function, I had developed a way of finding the price and the risk of it, because it's nonlinear, its risk was changing all the time, so you couldn't just use a, you know, like a regression or something like that. You needed, so that completed the map. And the only thing I'd say further, because I can't make a joke about it, I don't think. I've tried to. You know, economists, you know, you don't usually think of them as funny.
Economists think that's funny, right?
Yeah, okay. But you know, what that allowed was it led to a whole series from this kind of obscure, old but obscure contract called an option. It actually led to a whole bunch of things that I had the good fortune to be able to do. So it got really quite complex and big, and it still works 50 years later. So the idea was I could basically make anything you want. I can't make it at a price that you want. You tell me what you want, I'll tell you how to make it, and I'll tell you what it's cost to make it. And then the price is, well, if you can make it yourself, fine. If you have to buy it from some, the price is whatever you get someone to sell it to you for. So it isn't like you can make anything at any price. You can make anything you want. Now, if you think about that, gives you a whole theory of the production of financial products, because now I can make any shape you want. You draw a picture of the payoffs you want as a function of the underlying efficient driver, the risk engine, we call that. That's the thing that is driving what's coming out. What we're doing is by picking different patterns to change the payoff function to match what you want. You see what I mean? It's like tailoring, you know. If you're a financial engineer, just like any other kind of engineer, you're solving problems, it's kind of nice to be able to say, what's your problem? And she tells me, and I said, well, here's a solution. And we'll tailor it to you, just like the fine suit, okay? And that's what we do. And that created a whole industry. And
huge.
I think I've talked enough. But anyway, you got a lot of laughs out of the last one. And
yours is serious stuff. I mean,
could you help me invest in my stocks? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, your models are just extensively used across banks and investment firms to price so many products, you know, and also hedge market risk. So thank you for all making it such a standard tool, I would say, in you know, managing corporate risks, and also, you know, everything from mortgage products to all the financial products you mentioned. So thank you. And Sir Constantine, the story of you and Professor Geim using Scotch tape, of all things, to isolate graphene has become scientific legend. And it almost began like playful tinkering, would you say so? At what point did you realize that this play would actually lead to the discovery of graphene?
Obviously, it's as the style of work which we had in the lab for years, and you could see it from my career that I haven't been taking my research seriously at all. So I've been playing most of the time. Like when I started my first PhD in Moscow, I didn't finish. I started my second in Holland, I didn't finish. So I never took my research seriously at all. But I mean, I was focusing. Right? Yeah. So just don't start your PhD in Moscow.
Start it here at Hong Kong University.
And we always, I mean, we were doing proper work, and we had our mainstream research. It was mesoscopic ferromagnetism at the time, topological ferromagnetism, but we always had a bit of a playfulness, and we call it the Friday evening experiments. And my colleague and friend and teacher, Andrew Geim, so he is known for frog levitation. So I've been doing, if someone doesn't know that frogs can fly, just Google it immediately. So just you can, it's amazing pictures of flying frogs. And we were doing the Gecko tape with the Spider-Man climbing walls and ceilings, and we were doing magnetic water and many other small experiments which are fun, which we could do in the lab. And graphene started exactly the same. So we just ask ourselves a question: can we make a transistor out of graphite? We didn't know much about anything actually about graphite. Just bought some expensive stuff from the internet. Ask a PhD student. The only thing you can guess that you need to make it thin, otherwise you won't see the transistor effect. Just ask a student, can you go and polish on a polishing machine? And so he disappeared for a week, comes back with a pile of dust. Have you got more graphite to polish? Okay, yeah, it's just forget about it. So the beauty of those experiments that if it doesn't work, you haven't spent much money or much time on that. You can forget. And then one day I was doing the scanning tunneling microscopy, and the standard piece of the standard sample there is graphite, and because you can clean it very easily, just use a Scotch tape and you peel off the top surface. And I knew this for years. It just didn't come to my mind. So, and usually people just peel off, throw the Scotch tape away, and measure the freshly clipped, very clean surface. And I just had to pick up the Scotch tape from the dustbin, and within half an hour we had our first transistors. But it wasn't graphene; it was still quite thick, but you could see some quantum effects there already. And then it was a good year. We were just trying to make it thinner and thinner and thinner. And the only thing which we knew about graphite, that the monolayer, that graphene shouldn't exist. So everything else we kind of could anticipate, but for sure just the standard knowledge in the industry that it shouldn't exist. And then we were lucky that one day we got one layer and two layers at the same time, and they behave quantum mechanically very different. So you were sure about this, and we didn't know that many people actually work on this. We were complete novice in this carbon area. So we just published that you can make monolayer of carbon atoms, which is very strong and impermeable and so on. And to continue on your story, so we're all going to refer to you today. But the first reaction on this on our publication was from Sir Michael Berry. So physicists in the room probably know Sir Michael is the Berry face. He's fantastic mathematician and theoretical physicist, really amazing scientist. He just called me, Kostya, finally, that's such a great invention. The monolayer of carbon, the thinnest possible condoms. That's exactly what you need. So.
Atom-thick condoms with such amazing strength and conductivity as graphene.
Okay, that's, we probably should do it together, whether conductivity can stimulate anything.
But thank you so much, Sir Konstantin. Because of your discovery, graphene has become indispensable in high-speed electronics, in touch screens, in sensors, and also batteries. And it's also accelerated innovation in nanotechnology, wearable devices, and also lots of next-gen materials. So now let's move beyond the science to actually the mindset behind all of this. Let's talk about the defining quality, if we may ask. What single personal trait, well, apart from being ultra smart and intelligent, has been most fundamental to your path? Was it resilience in the face of setbacks? Or was it a gift for bringing people together, building an all-star team? Or was it that capacity to remain perpetually curious? And we might have to keep our answers just slightly shorter.
I'm sure that it certainly is the curiosity, but you cannot. The problem is very difficult to support your curiosity for a long period of time unless you found the area where you're genuinely curious, and that's what I'm trying to convey to my students, guys. You don't need to rush for those areas which are the most popular at the moment, the most fashionable at the moment. Find something what you are genuinely interested in, because fashionable areas, you can probably work for it on half a year, but then your curiosity is going to die, and you will just stall somewhere. So try to find something which really you are genuinely curious, which would support your work for a long period of time. And I'm 100% positive that these days you can find something new and something interesting, and you can make a discovery in pretty much any area of science. You think that Tim mentioned yesterday that he was lucky in his years that there were so many frontiers. So there are even more frontiers now where we can make a discovery.
Yeah, that we didn't know about certain.
And I mean, the other thing is that if you go into a fashionable area, you face intense competition, right? Somebody's almost bound to scoop you.
But you see, that's the advantage of the novice. So when you come, because I'm sure that you had the same, that when we do our research, and at a certain moment you simply just swipe a few things under the carpet. You just you don't need to know, and it's almost the trade secret and everyone knows this. But when the novice come,
they don't know
what's the those.
I mean, I think the thing you face always is the unknown unknowns, right? I mean, we don't.
Well, that's our trade. So science is about unknown unknowns.
Yeah, exactly. So most of the time you're just groping in the fog, and it is that. I think curiosity is absolutely the number one thing. You find something you don't understand, and you sort of sense that it's quite interesting and important, and I mean, finding a good problem like that is easier said than done.
That's what I'm trying to usually tell to my students. Look, guys, they teach you chemistry and physics and mathematics and economics in the university. What they don't teach you is science, because science is this ability to sense something new, and I have no idea how to develop it in yourself. It's like the music ear. So that's.
I got really fed up. My youngest daughter had to do her homework, and the question was, how are pine trees adapted to their environment?
Well, there are standard answers, of course.
Okay, so there was then a list, and I didn't really understand how any of them worked, and I started trying to think about it and explain. Oh, Dad, shut up! Just tell me what the answer is. And that's the thing. That's what science education is. It's absolutely terrible. So not surprising, neither of my daughters wanted to follow in their parents' footsteps because it's boring and just a fact thing. And what I loved was how do they know that? And one of the great defining moments of my young career was in my second year as an undergraduate. Jacques Monod came to give a series of 2 lectures in the chemistry department, and he unfolded how they'd figured out how the lac operon was regulated in E. coli, and it was just beautiful. I mean, it was just wonderful. I went and asked my tutorial advisor, is this true? He said, too early to say, because he hadn't been reading the literature, which was mostly in French.
That's right.
So what sort of advice did you give your daughter? I mean, there's kind of a common fundamental dilemma.
She turned into an artist.
Oh, okay. So
it was absolutely hopeless. I mean, because that's what, it comes from all these testing. People test. So it's awful.
So for those who choose to remain in research.
It's so important to be, constantly said, play is, have fun. Play, just tinker all the time. That's really important. That was what I did when I had the radio sets, and we even set up a lead melting foundry in our garden.
So we get really bad image of an ideal scientist, pile of Lego and a smoke in the lab. That's
right. And making homemade explosives. I mean, you did that, yeah.
But for those who do,
my generation, I mean, we all did that, you know.
Want to pursue and remain in research. I mean, we touched upon kind of the art of actually how to define the problem. So would you advise us to more, kind of spot what are the prevailing trends, or just stay focused on a field that truly fascinates you?
Well, it's a matter of optimization, I think. You want to find. I mean, this is it. It's very simple, actually. You need to find. Well, number one, everybody should want to win a Nobel Prize, right? Because why would you not want to find out the most important thing you could possibly find out if you're a scientist, right? I mean, it's a perfectly valid aim that nobody else knows, I think. So how do you do that? Well, you have to sort of decide, where is my effort going to make the maximum? It's an optimization business again, isn't it? But it's very hard.
Well, I think you should want, but you shouldn't think about the Nobel Prize. So
no, of course you shouldn't think about it.
Never.
But when I was growing, I was born with a sort of scientific silver spoon in my mouth, because we had lectures from all these Nobel laureates up the road, and so you could tell some of them were very clever, some of them weren't. It was very encouraging.
Right. So, because in research, I mean, it's kind of hard to measure the return, right, in terms of impact or even purpose, because much of this work often began as fundamental kind of curiosity-driven research without obvious applications that you didn't know in advance. So how do you actually defend the value of this type of research to funding bodies or even team members?
Well, I'm going to reiterate what you've all heard here, that curiosity is perhaps the most important trait. And by the way, I have no more jokes to tell, so I'm going to be very serious about this, because I want to bring up 2 points. Curiosity is what makes people successful in any field. If you're not curious about anything, what are you going to do in life? You've got to be curious. And in the sciences, clearly, that's extremely important. You heard my story about cigarette smoke causing relaxation of arteries. So I was curious, what the hell was in the cigarette smoke that would cause the arteries to relax and then come back to life? And then one thing led to the next, and we made our discovery. But then, moving beyond that, in addition to being curious, I really advocate that all of you young people, even older people still doing research, that you need to create your own path. You need to think outside the box. Don't do what everybody else does. Don't go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail.
Wow.
That's what I've done, and I encourage you to do that.
Amazing.
Short answer. That's it.
Great. Just taking the path less taken and creating your own trail to success. So now we have time for our audience to engage with you all with questions. So if you'd like to ask something, please just raise your hand and our colleagues will bring a mic to you. Please keep your questions brief so that we can actually have more opportunities for questions.
Thank you. So illuminating. And President talked about interdisciplinary, the recent advance in AI and so on, and my idol when I was at Carnegie, Professor Robert Miller. How would that impact your research with the AI things in terms of derivatives, efficient market theory? Would that change, or how would that impact? Thank you.
That's a very good question. It's going to be very important, as it will be elsewhere. So, I mean, among other things, it's going to allow us to do things much faster that we don't really like doing. you got curious, you got curious, you got curious, but you had to do a bunch of things that you weren't very curious. And so I kind of think of AI as with other innovations we've had over the years, as my wife would put it, it's not artificial intelligence, it's assisted information that, it does things that you don't want to do rather than doing things that you do want to do. So that's the first thing I kind of just want to mention about the whole AI, because, clearly, jobs are lost, things we don't do. I used to be able to add up a column of numbers when I was a little kid very fast. Wow. And then the 19th century, that probably been a pretty valuable thing to have in my area. But you can get a $6 calculator that's both faster and more accurate. So it turned out that that's something that went away. So I just wanted to first respond to that this idea that it's going to take, we have all this imagination going on, and some of it may happen, but the way I look at it is going to allow us to do a lot more things than we have. I am concerned for two things. One, that people are going to be very disappointed. And, if people are paying billions and billions of dollars and putting valuations at such and such and such based on dreams or, what they think can be done, that's also going to be very expensive for society and for those individuals. But I think if you look at it more as a tool to work with you or work with people, then I think it works, it's pretty exciting. Obviously in the area with all the numbers and everything that we do in my area in finance, it's going to be very useful. It's also, however, often forgotten. People say, boy, if I had AI, could I clean up? Because all those people in the market don't have this. Who are you kidding? If you want to be an Olympian, you got to know who your competition is. You don't become an Olympian working out on weekends. Okay? Just because you are a great athlete doesn't get you close to that. And the same thing in markets. People somehow have this vision that the market is a bunch of, mediocre people with all kinds of phobias and such, and boy, is this fun and clean. And if I know something and it seems to me different from what the market says, it must be that this is going to be the greatest event in my life. I'm going to be able to retire and then really do what I want to do. The reality is that competition is very high there, as it is in any other high-reward area. You're not competing with people sitting around a kitchen table in different countries, dreaming up things. You're competing with sovereign wealth funds, etc., with enormous resources to embed and buy all the equipment. In fact, if you look at what kept tech going, like Moore's Law, it was very easy for us in finance to always put you on the border. I just add one more variable to my partial differential equation, and right away the computing would go way up. And so the industry spends fortunes on not only just technology, but people who understand it. That's who you're competing with. Just imagine if you're a tennis player and you're watching people playing at Wimbledon. Most of us don't think, oh, I play pretty good tennis, I think I can beat them. So that's I don't want to get off on any other thing because we have short time and so forth. But one thing I would certainly suggest is give some common sense thinking about this. One of the things you learn in economics teaches very well, is competition. And you see it going on in AI. They're at each other's throats trying to do it faster and better. Those are the ones of the competition, not some faceless people sitting out there who are, dysfunctional. So I'll leave it on that.
Thank you. Question?
Hello, thank you very much. As a first-year master's student, I am searching for a research story to do. But I see many papers, even good papers, but they are useless. And Yeah, they don't have any application in society, in routine problems that we face. And I want to ask if it's necessary to search for some topics that have a contribution to society or humanity is necessary, and how we can do this. Thank you very much.
I'm sure that there are lots of possible answers. Let me start. To my opinion, that kind of research which looks useless at the moment would have the largest impact globally, because it has a chance to open a new direction in the application, something which you don't know. If you can foresee some applications, it means it's just changing the current system a little bit. If you cannot see an immediate application, it means that it has a chance and probably will open a completely new frontier. It's going to be a paradigm change.
I'd like to give maybe a second cousin to what you just said. You said that you asked a very direct question. No, it's useless as far as you can see. I would say that in my own experience, but I don't think I'm hardly alone, I was motivated by, if I solve this problem, it'll matter. Now, it doesn't mean I wasn't curious on how to solve it, and that I saw that some of it was like climbing a mountain. Can I develop a different mathematics that I needed to solve this problem? But my experience is, I was motivated. I said, if I solve this problem, it's going to help somebody. But what my experience was, that's why I say it's the second cousin to yours, that when I solved the derivative problem, or worked on the derivatives problem and solved that, that was a useful problem. I knew how it would be used, how it could be used. Same thing with my portfolio things. I knew that. So that it was not useless in that sense. On the other hand, what happened, and has been happening for now almost for a half century or more, is that original thing turned out to be much bigger.
All the derivatives.
Yeah, well, the derivatives, but I mean, how it would get used. It turned out that they're kind of the fundamental, from a principles point of view, they're the fundamental building blocks for all instruments that you want to do. I mean, you didn't think that when you looked at it to begin with, but it just turned out to get more and more. And so, I was able to have a joke. I said, if you understand options, which is a pretty specialized sounding thing, I said, I can teach you credit risk in 10 minutes as it make you an experienced person. Why? Because I can show you the structure can be reframed as options, and if you understand options, then you instantly understand credit risk. And this has been going on. I've been the great good fortune to benefit from it, among others. I'm not alone, all along. So I just want to add a little, addition to what you had said, that you may be something that's useful, but you may discover it's a lot more useful for a lot more of the things that you didn't think about, and probably more important things. So you see what I meant. I'm not disagreeing. I just think it's not black and white.
Amazing.
I don't
Thank you
think
so much.
Society, I mean, I can't say I ever worried about that. Did you ever worry about society?
Not really.
Oh, come on. I'm sorry. But, if you I love solving problems and so forth. I love developing, I was trying to solve this problem in portfolio theory and anything. I knew I wanted something that would work in continuous time, which of course is not precise. But, I mean, it's not real world. Nothing is really continuous, but it's pretty close. Now, that was a much more complex problem because I wanted to do it in continuous time. But it was a challenge. So it was an optimization, but it was also a challenge. Now, it turns out that we're sitting today, this is a long time later, and do you have any idea at the speed at which trading goes on? Microseconds?
Microseconds, nanoseconds.
Nanoseconds, yes. Nanoseconds, right.
Unbelievable.
Yes. That's pretty close to continuous.
Pretty close.
So this is an example where...
Although we met a guy who dealt in attoseconds.
Okay.
Recently.
Not trading yet.
We're moving in that direction. But the point of the matter was that this is an example where practice technology followed theory. In other words, I made an abstraction, and I only add one other thing because I want to make sure I mention it somewhere, and we're running out of time, that I bought my first stock when I was 10 years old. I traded everything I didn't have a lot of money, but I did it. And I did all kinds of things all the way through college and graduate school. I went to Caltech for my PhD in applied mathematics, so the markets open at 6:30 in California instead of 9:30, so I could trade for 2 hours and then go to class, okay? Now, I never thought of that as a day job, right? Incredible. And the ideal situation, and I'll just continue on because there's another message in it, I did pretty well at both my undergraduate and then in graduate school in applied mathematics. I only liked applied mathematics because of the power of mathematics. I just wasn't interested in the curiosity of number theory. Nothing wrong with it. And so I was doing my PhD and did a lot of math, so I took 1 year and I finished all my things for my qualifiers and everything. And then I started thinking about a thesis. And water waves in the tank didn't do it for me, neither did plasma physics. What I found myself saying is, that thing I would do in the morning, which I knew was not appropriate for academic research, okay, I thought, turned out to be something that was really fun and actually was pretty good at it. I don't mean making lots of money or not. I mean understanding it and so forth. And finally, I just mentioned, when I did switch, I picked up and left Caltech. All I had to do was my thesis. Everybody thought I was crazy. I applied to MIT in economics. I'd never taken an economics course, okay?
Oh, really?
They let me in. That's another story, but we can't go there. Because of a crazy guy, not crazy, but a guy who recognized who was writing.
You knew what you were talking about.
Well, I don't know, but anyway, let me just finish it up because so I get into MIT. We're a full fellowship. I didn't even have to be an RA. And I said, gee, that's nice. And then I realized that's probably because they knew I didn't know any economics, so that I couldn't be very good at it. But then what happened, you just think that's pretty amazing. But then when I showed up, I said, well, I don't really know this field, so I better, take the standard courses to at least get the foundation. And I went to this guy who happened to be the same guy I found out later who I think was the reason I got in, okay? And he said to me, you take those courses, you're going to be so bored. He says, you'll leave here. He says, go down and take Paul Samuelson's Advanced Mathematical Economics course. And I said, but Professor, I haven't had any economics, and this is a second-year graduate school, probably the best department in the country. So the students there were good students, any field. Sure. And he said, just do it. And I did. And I won't go to the rest of the story. Let's just say I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for that, because everything clicked. I found those things. I had an amazing time. I published 4 papers. Some of them I think were my best while I was a grad student in 3 years. So the reason I'm saying that is there's another message. You were telling you follow your curiosity and everything. Everybody thought I was crazy, but I could just walk through the PhD and then to make this change to a field. And all I'm pointing out is I wouldn't be here if I hadn't done that. So that's a different dimension from the dimension that we usually talk about is what problem you work on. I changed fields. Anyway.
Thank you, Professor Martin. We have time for one last question.
Okay, thank you for your talk today. And I just have one simple question. So was there any time during your research where you were like, it almost seems hopeless or it seems very stagnant? And if yes, how did you get over that? How did you advance further into your research? And what happened during that was like a breakthrough that allows you to move forward?
All the time.
All the time, right. Yeah, I think I could address that. I mean, when I first started to work in the laboratory doing research, I kind of knew what I had in mind, but I was not sure where it was going to lead to. I mean, I had an idea. Nitroglycerin is a drug that's used to treat heart disease. It's a vasodilator. It widens the arteries and reduces the pressure in the heart when the blood is returned to the heart. And that's how it relieves angina pectoris, or chest pain and arm pain. And that was discovered 150 years ago. But the mechanism by which nitroglycerin produces this vasodilation was not known. Okay, so I started to study this, and I learned from my studies that nitroglycerin is actually converted in your arteries, it's metabolized in your arteries to nitric oxide. And that, I thought was very important. Perhaps NO could be a vasodilator, and I had just shown with the cigarette smoke, as I told you, that nitric oxide is a vasodilator. But the problem began after that. I mean, when I made that discovery, I thought, oh my goodness, this is very good. I was not thinking about a Nobel Prize because I never thought about a Nobel Prize. All I thought about was maintaining my tenure at the university. Forget the Nobel Prize. But the problem came when I tried to explain my findings to the world, to the NIH, for journals to publish the work in. As you heard from me before, they all thought I was crazy, losing my mind, and they did not want to fund that research. And so how was I going to continue to do that work? Well, I used some of my own money. I convinced my parents, my mom, because my dad had passed away, to give me some money. And I used that in order to do the studies I needed in order to submit that work for publication, and eventually it got published. So there was a lot of trial and tribulations there at the beginning of my career. But the thing is, once again, you never give up, never give up. I learned playing baseball and other sports that you never give up. The whole purpose of sports is to win. And some people would tell me, just have fun. Just play. Don't play to win. Why are you playing?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Ignero. Thank you, Professor Ignero, father to biographer. Thank you, Sir Tim Hunt. Thank you, Professor Burton. Thank you, Sir Constantine. Thank you for enlightening us with your extraordinary wisdom, for telling us how actually we ought to stay crazy. I heard that word crazy multiple times today. Thank you for empowering us with the courage to actually think out of the box and ask the craziest questions so that we can embark on impossible mission and take the path that is less traveled. And I hope this sense of wonder, curiosity will stay with us much longer after we leave this room and inspire us to actually create our own trails in life. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And a big hand to our moderator, Professor Lowe. Thank you for guiding us for the session. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a big thank you to our Nobel laureates. And now I would like to invite President Nip to please join us for a photo before we wrap up for the day. One more photo, please. Yes. Thank you. Beautiful. Let's stand closer together, please.
I thank you on behalf of my dad.
Stand-up comic.
Okay, focus on straight ahead.
So we may take one more step to the left.
Yes, this one, and then we will include Professor Lowe as well. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, one more photo.
Okay, hold on, one more. Okay, look at me here.
Looking straight ahead and smile for the camera. Well done. The key message that I have heard in the audience is curiosity and passion. And creating your own path. That's amazing. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Okay, one more photo, please. One more. Yeah? Okay, one more photo. Well, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, we would like to thank everyone for your participation today. It has been very enjoyable in the audience, and I hope that we continue to spark conversation, reflection, curiosity, and new ideas after you leave this hall.